I love it when a plan comes together. But I also don't mind the occasional nice surprise, and today is a prime example of that. A Holden VXR8. Now I know very, very little about these cars beyond the absolute basics. That is to say, it is an Australian-made four-door saloon car with a thumping great big 6.2 litre Chevy LS3 V8 at the front. Now if you wanted to be cruel about this car, you could call it the unthinking man's M5. But you simply cannot ignore the fact that this and its Vauxhall counterpart offer incredible value for money, or bang for buck. It's an awful lot of horsepower for not a lot of cash. And I gotta be honest here, it's not the sort of car I would probably ever own, but something like this has to appeal just a little bit to every kind of petrol head. So when this rocked up at Torque Automotive this morning while I was collecting my Brera, I couldn't help but ask the owner, Sean, can I have a go? And he said yes. Yeah, nothing else sounds like a Chevy V8. Love it. So from my perspective, this is a difficult car to judge because I don't often drive cars of this type. However, knowing that there was often something of a Lotus theme to my channel, there is some sort of precedent for a car like this. You could very much see this car as a descendant of the original Lotus Carlton, which was pretty much the original insane saloon. And Vauxhall have got good form. On the road and on the dual carriageway, which is pretty much this car's natural habitat, it does everything I would kind of want it to. It's pretty comfy, steering's reasonably light, the auto gearbox actually works quite well. Yes, I know die-hard petrol heads will be there going, oh, it'll be even better with a manual. And yes, I'm sure when you're hooning and you're having a blast down back roads, a manual would be an awful lot of fun. But for chomping big miles in relative comfort, an auto box is pretty good. Now, there aren't paddles to override it, but you can change it with the gear stick down here. It is in the correct direction, so pull towards you for up and push away to go down. One quirk in the interior, the indicators are on the right-hand side, which is only something I've encountered in a few vehicles, and this is the only modern vehicle I've actually encountered of this type. It burbles a bit. This car's got a Vortex exhaust on it. Is it a catback system? Yeah. It's a catback system. And it sounds pleasant. It's not crazy loud from inside, but it does sound unmistakably like a Chevy V8. And I like the sound of a Chevy V8. Yeah, the steering's quite light. There's actually quite a bit of texture coming back through, but there's no weight to the steering. Over these broken roads, it really floats nicely. I'm actually quite impressed. Big cars like this can often fall apart down very small roads. I have absolutely no idea where I am, and the owner has no idea where I am. But it's a car you can get on with quite easily. I'm not going to try and provoke it because I've no idea what would happen when I do, and it's wet, greasy, narrow roads, not the best place to do it, but kind of nice. The interior is not hideously bad. It's clearly from an inexpensive manufacturer, but I mean, come on, this was not an expensive car. These were way, way, way cheaper than the equivalent M5, so you're not going to expect everything about it to be the same. And one of the nice things is that for guys that just enough is never enough, you can do so much with these engines. I know the owner's got plans to put headers on it, and tuning options for Chevy small blocks are basically unlimited. I've seen these things running well over 1,000 brake horsepower down the drag strip, and you can just do anything. In a lot of ways, this reminds me of my old 6 Series. There's just something a little bit nice about the combination of thumping great big torquey V8 and an automatic gearbox when you're not in the mood for thrashing the life out of a car, which, let's be honest, is a lot of the time. It's just nice. You get a small little engine with not a lot of grunt in it, and it feels like it's a lot of effort for the car whenever you put your foot down. Something like this though, you want to go a little faster, you just put your foot down a little bit more, and the torque just carries you through. And the engine revs a fair amount as well. Red line's around about 6.5 on this, and I think that's respectable for what some people would term a fairly old-fashioned engine. But when you drive it, it doesn't feel old-fashioned. Not a little bit. Oh, and it picks up lovely. Burbles a little bit. Oh, let's be honest here. That's what you're going to buy this car for. You're not going to buy this car to go around this bend at 1,000,000 miles an hour. You're going to buy this car because all you're going to do is you're going to sit there grinning like an idiot going, and it does that brilliantly. I'd say these are pretty much the definition of a cult car. Whenever I meet anyone that has either a Holden or a Vauxhall VXR8, it is very rarely their first, and it is never their last. They've made a few different versions of these. The one that people seem to be quite misty-eyed about is the Holden Coupe, which was not based on any pre-existing saloon car. And they've also done them with superchargers in. They've done all sorts of different versions with various flavours of Chevy small block. But it appeals to a certain type of person, and I really get it. It's a simple recipe. It's a really, really simple recipe. It's sort of car equivalent of steak and chips, really. There's nothing that fancy about it, but I do love a good one. And if this was a steak, it would not be a fillet. It would definitely be a rump. Love it. Maybe the weirdest thing about this car is this really strange handbrake, which someone's designed so that when it's off, it feels like it's integrated into the center console, but when you're holding it, it just feels a bit odd. I mean, if I wanted to be really harsh to this car, I could pull it apart and talk about the handling being a bit duff and this and the other, but it's just not fair. It was never ever built to be that kind of car. I really don't know these roads, and I don't know any roads around here that are exceedingly good for testing out a car's handling, but in terms of what this car's mission brief was, to deliver you from one side of Australia to the other in luxury, comfort, and with a great soundtrack, it fits the brief.